Luke Hoyer, Kara Loren, Gina Montalto, Joaquin Oliver, Helena Petty, Meadow Pollock, Peter Wang, Helena Ramsey, Alex Shatter, and Carmen Schenstrup. Thank you.
And we want to start with a moment of silence, so if you could all just be silent for 30 seconds. Today we walk out to remember the lives of the 17 children who died a preventable death at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. We as students are facing an assault on our future. But as we gather here today, it is imperative to remember that, although this walkout has political roots, we must honor the lives of those 17 children who had their entire lives ahead of them. We live in a politically divided society, but no matter what side of the political spectrum you stand on, I think we can all come to the consensus that the tragic events that happened on February 14th were avoidable. The time has come that our silence is a betrayal and we will be silent no more. This is a turning point in our lives. This is when we decide that staying silent and waiting for the government to take action is not effective. One day we will be the people that children read about in their history textbooks. One day we will be in the photos in museum cases. We are the generation who was born to end this cruelty. We are the generation who will make a difference in history. We are the pioneers of the future. We have the power to make a difference. We have a responsibility to the victims of not only the victims of the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, but to the other 25 major fatal school shootings that have occurred in our lifetime. This is the beginning of the end of gun violence in schools. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today and joining us in honoring the lives lost. This protest is not just a moment, but a movement, and it's enough is enough.
This is Alyssa El-Hadef. Alyssa is 14 years old and would have been turning 15 this following May. Alyssa attended Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School as a freshman. Like many of us here at BHS, Alyssa was enrolled in honors and AP classes, and she was acknowledged for her excellent performance in her classes. Alyssa was outgoing in her school's community. She placed first in her debate tournament and had a wide circle of friends. Alyssa played midfield as number 8 on her school's soccer team and would continue her soccer career into college. Alyssa was passionate about soccer and played not only on her school team, but on the Parkland travel soccer team. She was a well-respected player and member of the team, both on the field and off. Alyssa had been playing soccer since the age of 3, and she dreamed of one day playing on the U.S. women's team like her idol Alex Morgan. On February 13, 2018, Alyssa had played the best soccer game of her life. Parkland beat their rival Coral Springs 1-0. Alyssa and her teammates rejoiced in the game's victory. But little did they know that this would be their last game as a team together. Alyssa was not only a teammate, classmate, and friend, but she was also the daughter of Ian and Lori El-Hadef, and the sister of 2 younger brothers who would never get to grow up with the experience of having an older sister throughout their lives. On Wednesday, February 14, 2018, Alyssa woke up, brushed her teeth, got dressed, and grabbed a quick bite before rushing out the door to school like any other school day. But this was not just any other school day. It was Valentine's Day. So like any freshman girl, she was probably anxious to get to school and wish her friends a happy Valentine's Day. As Lori dropped her daughter off that morning, she looked her in the eyes and said, "I love you" to her daughter for the very last time. But she was unaware of this at the moment. Lori was simply dropping her daughter off at school, expecting her to come home for dinner at the end of the day. Alyssa attended her first couple classes like any typical school day. She sat with her friends Emily and Jamie and the rest of the soccer team at lunch. Maybe she bought one of those cheesy $1 carnations they were selling in the cafeteria for Valentine's Day. After lunch, her and her classmates performed a fire drill, not thinking anything of it. And before long, the school day was almost over. All Alyssa had left was fourth block, and then she'd be on her way home to her mom and dad and two little brothers. At 2:19 in the afternoon, former Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School student Nicholas Cruz exited an Uber. The alumni entered the freshman building, but instead of entering reflecting in retrospect on his past experiences there, 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz entered with a AR-15 rifle and created one of the deadliest massacres that our generation has ever seen occur within the walls of a school. The sound of the fire alarm blared throughout the halls of the freshman building. Confused since a drill had occurred only 3 hours earlier, the students stumbled into the halls in chaos. But what awaited them was far more horrific than they could ever have imagined. Soon news of a school shooter had spread throughout the halls. Students and teachers darted into classrooms to seek safety and shelter, but not everyone was able to escape the bullets fired. Alyssa was not shot once, but 3 times. The first bullet struck her hand. The second bullet sank into her chest and reached her heart. And the final bullet pierced through her skull, impacting her head. Lori received a text at 2:41 in the afternoon from a friend, informing her of the news of the shooting at Alyssa's high school. She rushed to the building and hoped to save her daughter. But Alyssa's life had already been taken once Lori arrived to the school's campus. Alyssa was a real person. She had a real family. She had real friends. She had a real life. Alyssa was just as real as I am speaking in front of you today. Look around yourself. She is just as real as the people in front of your eyes. Feel your own heart beating inside of your chest. Her heartbeat was just as real as your own. Alyssa is just one of 268 kids who have been killed in school shootings in my lifetime. 268 lives in just 17 years. That's 268 kids who will never be able to attend their senior prom. That's 268 kids who will never be able to feel the weight of their diploma in their hands as they graduate. That's 268 people who will never be able to fall in love and get married. That's 268 people who will never be able to experience holding their newborn child in their arms. That's 268 kids who had their whole lives taken away from them before they had the chance to start living them. This is not just a moment in our lives. This is a movement. We are the generation that says no more.
I want to tell a story about a family friend I knew years ago. He was mentally ill, and this was known. He was an alcoholic. He was taking antidepressants. But somehow he was able to walk into a gun store and purchase a firearm. No background check, no gun license, no permit. Then the next day, he drove to my house and shot himself in front of myself and my mother. The blood stained deeper in my mind than it did on the ground. The gunshot replayed on an endless loop in my dreams. The police were already there, and I got my very own SWAT team to lead me out of my house because they thought I could have been killed as well. All this happened when I was 10 years old. At 10 years old, I couldn't comprehend the complexity of our government and legislature, the divide between political parties. All I understood was that it shouldn't be that easy to kill. It shouldn't be that easy to traumatize a child for the rest of their life. My family ended up having to move out of that house since it was a constant reminder of that day. I was taken out of school to go to PTSD counseling, but that didn't help with the nightmares. I was detached and unable to feel for others, but most of all, I was angry. Imagine explaining to a young child, sure, it was a tragedy, but this stuff happens all the time, nothing can be done. My case did not matter at all. The only things I received were thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers have no impact on a child who just watched someone die. The students of Parkland just watched their classmates, teachers, and best friends be murdered by a man who exhibited every possible warning sign. Grief is one thing, but those students will never be the same as they were before the trauma. These students are now channeling their stress into a movement. Stand with them. Demand safety. Let your anger incite action. Thank you.
I saw footage from inside the Parkland shooting. I thought it was important to see what these students went through that day. What I saw were students hiding in the corner of their classrooms, crying, wondering if they were going to be next. I saw students watch as their friends who had been shot were carried away. I saw unimaginable fear. And now I see unimaginable bravery from the very same students. Because nearly all of the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School students are now fighting for gun violence prevention. We're not exploiting these victims to push any political agenda. We're standing with the survivors because they have lived through this indescribable pain. And they don't want their friends to be forgotten. So today, each minute we're out here, we honor the lives lost at Parkland and every life taken in a school shooting. Together, we, as students, have started this movement. In just 1 month, we have organized and gotten almost 200,000 students to walk out of their classrooms at this very moment. We may be young, but we're maturing fast and being forced to understand the way our world and our government works. So why is it that we, as students, are told to sit down and let the adults make all the decisions? Because we're young and we don't understand it. But I think we do. I think we understand it more than anyone because we're living it. We need change. We need to feel safe in our schools, in our towns, and in our communities. And if they won't fight for us, it's time we fight for ourselves. Our lawmakers have had the opportunity to incite change for a long, long time. And now time's up. They'll either support us or get removed from office. We can't let there be another Parkland. We can't let there be another Columbine. We can't let there be another Sandy Hook. Our laws need to change, and if they won't do it, we'll elect someone else who can. We may just be children, but we will no longer sit by idly and watch these tragedies happen. We, the students, will no longer stand for our politicians to be bought out by the organizations with the deepest pockets. We, the students, will no longer live in fear that our school could be the next target for a shooting. Yes, we, the students, will be the change that we have been waiting for. And look out, because we might not be able to vote just yet, but we know how to spread a message. So both Concord and Washington know that we will not stop until you listen to us and change these laws. All we're asking for you to do is put your politics aside and think about the issues at hand logically. 2,821 people have been killed just in 2018 as a result of gun violence, 261 of which were children. And we're only 73 days in. We're here today to put an end to this. We're demanding that our schools become safer. We're demanding action because thoughts and prayers never helped anyone. You can tweet a hashtag or post a picture in support. That doesn't change anything. Being here today, you're part of the solution. And this is just the first step of many. Continue in this movement. Show our lawmakers, show our nation that we may be young, but we're keeping with this fight. And we won't stop until we win. This protest is not a moment, but a movement. Because enough is enough.
So in my room, I have this wall of quotes that I've written down and plastered on there because they personally struck a chord with me. And coincidentally, as I was trying to think of how I wanted you all to think about the power of your own voices, a quote that I'd almost forgotten about seemed to come out of nowhere. It was so fitting, I almost thought it was funny. It comes from the movie V for Vendetta, and it's when V, the main protagonist, who wears a mask of a former revolutionary, fights the villain of the movie, Mr. Creedy. And he says, Beneath this mask, there's more than flesh. Beneath this mask, there's an idea, and ideas are bulletproof. I think this is not only fitting for the subject of our walkout, but for the power of these words. Take that energy that brought you out here today and let that translate into your passion to talk to your legislators, your senators. Go to March 24th, the March in Concord, in Boston, Washington. Take this energy and use it towards something that you can finally make a difference in, because the energy that brought you out here today is the same one that you can translate and show the people that can actually change. We can send out their information, so you can email, call them, or send them letters. And feel free to contact any of us for information that you need. We'll give you their phone numbers, their emails, anything that you need. Just feel free to contact us.
Today we are taking our first steps into political activism, making our voices heard for the first time. We don't need to cast a ballot to make our voices heard. We must make it apparent to our legislators that they must work for all of their people, both those that elected them and their children. We are the future of this country, but we can still take action now. We can make our country a place where we're able to discuss this openly with those that have opposing viewpoints without judgment or without anger. We can create a country where we no longer are a politically polarized society, because open discussion is the first steps to change. Students should not be afraid to attend school. We have the right, as humans, to feel safe in our own communities. We have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and we must strive for this in all aspects of our life, and we must send a message to our legislators that that is what they must work for.
And that's why Nolan and I are talking to you today about why this protest does not end here. I know for many, politics is definitely not their forte, and that's completely fine. But if you do care about creating change, and especially promoting a safer world, then please take what we have said and apply it. We're always here for support at any time, especially if these are your first steps into political advocacy or speaking out about something you believe in.
This is why me and Veronica encourage everyone to take action further from here. Get involved. Join organizations that stand up for your beliefs. Support candidates and campaign for them to get them elected or re-elected. Try to get involved in your community and take action in any way possible. Because once we begin to take action, that is how we begin to shape this nation in the way we want it to look. Take action. It is with us that we start. And it's with us that we make our nation a better place that we can all feel safe within.
How powerful the youth is in creating change in our world is far more than most of us think. But the world is coming to realize that we're done with being the leaders of tomorrow. We're here to be the leaders of today. We would like to add another moment of silence, and this time for reflection. After the moment of silence, please return to your